Pass me the torch, still blazing. Try to break my will so I won't change. I'm changing too much, but I can't keep still. Fight for the ones who saved me. I'm bleeding red like the ones we're saving. I'm not breaking. You're catching up to the power I'm chasing.
Burn the earth tree to the ground. May chaos take the world. May chaos take the world.
I'm a virus, tell me if you notice. Cause I might get blurry when the light gets on. 80 hours of out of focus. Top of this thorn in my side, I'm so gone. See me fly but never like to see me jet lagged. Hear the whisper on the wind, we're all alone. Bad fire on my back like a jetpack. Cause I don't wanna see the ash before it snows. Let me unravel. My arms are shattered, but I can't lose this battle. It's all I am. Pass me the torch, still blazing. Try to break my will so I won't change. I'm changing too much, but I can't keep still. Fight for the ones who save me. I'm bleeding red like the ones we're saving. I'm not breaking. You're catching up to the power I'm chasing. Fight the pain in the back of my eyes. They're fixed on the far off horizon. And if I'm gonna go up in flames, then at least I'll still be rising. I guess I'm caustic, but I don't really notice what these toxins before they start exploding. There's my options. I only see the line, I turn across it way too often. Let me unravel. My arms are shattered, but I can't lose this battle. It's all I am. Pass me the torch, still blazing. Try to break my will so I won't change. I'm changing too much, but I can't keep.
And we are live. Hello to all my BC WrestlePod nerds out there, and welcome to another rendition of the NXTilosos review, your weekly NXT review squad here, the most stylish review squad here, if I do say so myself. I am one of your hosts, Mikey, and joining me this week is my partner in crime, my brother from another mother, Porteño, my Puerto Rican brother himself, Mr. Macho Rodriguez. How you doing tonight, my friend?
I'm great. I'm excited to talk about this show because I think there's going to be, there's definitely going to be some things we need to talk about that I think are important. But yeah, let's do it.
Cool. So just to let you all know, we are going to be talking about the Go Home show from NXT, which took place Tuesday, October 22nd, 2024. And there was there was a lot of things, and I will preface this that for a go-home show, for a event that is all about invoking the Halloween spirit, where we get tricks and treats, there was not a lot of treats this episode, and some very, very, very questionable stuff here. So before we get into all that, just to let everybody who's watching at home know, these are our opinions. We love that everyone has differing opinions. We would love to hear them, have a conversation with you. Just keep it respectful and keep it cute in the chat, because you will be blocked. So don't be a turd. Don't be mean. Don't be evil. So the little bit of housekeeping that I have to do, find us all over the social medias. You know the drill at this point. Follow us anywhere and everywhere at BC Wrestle Pod in this conglomeration network, monopoly that we got going on. Ooh, I want to get into this so bad, so let us do this. So we are just going to jump straight in. NXT wastes no time, because we get our first match of the evening. This sees Jakara Jackson and Lash Legend of Metaphor taking on the Sky Pirates, which is Kairi Sane and Io Sky, representing Damage Control and all of this too. And I was excited, Macho. I was excited because Lash and Jakara got to fight Bianca and Jade. They get to go up against Io and Kairi. I'm like, these girls are working with probably some of the best women that WWE has right now. And you know what? I was excited. And the match got started. And I was like, okay, here we go. This is going to be good. This is great. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, perfect. I don't think the Metaphor girls are winning, but you know what? That's okay. The Sky Pirates are going to win. I mean, when Asuka came back down to NXT and she faced, off, the course of the main roster girls are going to win. I would have not had an issue with it. What I had an issue with is why we ended this match the way it did, because we didn't even get a clean finish. This was caused by a disqualification, because Piper Niven and Chelsea Green, come into the match and they caused the disqualification. So technically the Metaphor girls win, but not really. And I'm just sitting here and I'm just like, this is the second time within the last, not even a week, where Jakara and Lash and even Kairi and Io, to a lesser extent, have been mistreated so badly, and have been, their moments to shine have been ran over by, the Caucasian persuasion, if you will. And I'm just sitting here and I'm just like, you had Kevin Owens and Cody Rhodes. Well, mostly Kevin Owens. I blame you for that. And Cody, you're no better for this. You ruined Jakara and Lash's entrance when they fought Bianca and Jade. Then we have Chelsea and Piper ruin this for the Metaphor girls and the Sky Pirates. And then if we rewind 48 hours before, or 24, not even 48, 24 hours before on Monday Night Raw, I didn't like the Liv and Raquel segment with, the Sky Pirates, and then Carlito's little throwaway line also had me hot and bothered. Macho, two things. So this is going to be a twofold discussion. One, how did we feel about the match that occurred in NXT with this DQ finish? And in your humble opinion, because I do want it here and I am asking for it, what is going on with WWE and our treatment of women, especially the women of color right now?
Well, I thought the match was really good. I thought we were watching, I think, a showcase Lash and Jakara, because we don't need a showcase for Io. We don't need a showcase for Kairi, because they're already established superstars. Kairi's a former NXT Women's Champ. Io's a former NXT Women's Champ. Io's a former SmackDown Champ or Women's World Champ. And we know that both of those women can go. This feels odd, because the past couple of weeks, it has been kind of known that Lash and Jakara have been given the opportunity to shine. They're either in a match or they're on a segment costing someone else a match on Raw or SmackDown. So it's clear that they have plans for them to move up to the main roster. They're utilizing them a lot. But what I saw yesterday made way more sense to me when I sit back and think about it than what happened with Cody and Kevin. Because last night, as you said before we went on air here, Lash beat Piper. So if, Piper and Chelsea are heels, they want to get that back. So I understand it. And Chelsea's been kind of prominent in NXT recently. So it makes total sense to me. What didn't make sense was having Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens ruin the start of what you would say is their main roster tenure. I don't know. I don't understand why that would be the placement for that. There's other things on the show that didn't really seem to need that shine. So I thought that was odd because I saw this tweet. Someone was actually like, as soon as Piper and Chelsea got involved, they were like, damn it, they just ruined a good match. And I was like, yeah, that's how I feel about it too. And I was watching it. But to answer your other question, I feel like it has just, ever since that article came out about WWE not putting people of color in prominent roles at the top of the card and how there hasn't been a male wrestler to win a pay-per-view match, a person of color, in a very long time. Ever since that, coupled with Triple H's comments about not seeing color, which is, just saying, like, that's something a racist would say. And then, it just feels like, okay, so the girls get interrupted. That doesn't look good. And then I don't know if anybody's seen Breakfast at Tiffany's, but there's just like racism in that movie where like a white dude, a white prominent like comedian plays like a Chinese guy, and Audrey Hepburn, like they kind of treat him like he's not as smart, and he acts that way. That's kind of how it felt with Liv Morgan with the damage control. Like if we would have skipped that moment where she's talking over them and she's like, I don't care. Almost like, I don't even understand you. Like that's essentially what she was saying by the way she acted. If we would have skipped over that moment, there was parts of the segment that were great. Like when she points out, like, oh, you guys were trying to vie for the tag titles. Well, we were tag champs. And if we get involved, that part was great. But just like the whole, like, I don't care, And then also the Raquel part where Raquel intimidates them. Like that was great. So they had it. The Carlito thing, I mean, it was reported that Io and Kyrie, they had zero issue with it. They just looked at it as that he was playing stupid because he's like dumb, like that's the character he's portraying at the moment. So clearly, if we're more hot and bothered about it than the actual superstars, and that's really our priority, or prerogative. But yeah, I don't want to make too much of it because clearly they already squashed it. Like they came out and said what they said, but it just definitely feels odd recently that a lot of it just the racial lines are being crossed, and it doesn't look good. It just really doesn't look good as to what's happening right now.
It's not. And it's like you said, if the superstars have kind of already dealt with it, then you know what? We're going to let it go. I'm hoping SmackDown bodes better for this. But you know what? I'm still excited. I just don't like the sake of DQs for the sake of DQs. Like I said, it makes sense. It made sense for Piper and Chelsea to go after the Metaphor girls, but it also didn't make sense for them to also get the Sky Pirates inadvertently involved in all this either, but I digress. So we move on from here because after this, okay, I know we're in Florida. I know we have to do like the sponsors and stuff, but we get like a backstage like pre-tape. This is what happened earlier in the day, in which we have the 2023 NASCAR Xfinity Series champion, Cole Custer. And look, I might be the only person. I like Hank and Tank. I think they're stupid, but like in the best way possible for me. But they were paired up, and then they got then the three of them got into an argument with OTM and Jada Parker. I'm like, Jada, girl, I love you, but this is not where I want to see you with the whole this. I'm like, what do you mean a whole parking spot? You're at the Performance Center. Like, what are we talking about? And I mean, this ultimately sets up what we're getting later in the night. So I was just like, I rolled my eyes. I'm like, I like Hank and Tank. I don't want them to be utilized like this. And there's no reason to have our NASCAR driver here. It is what it is. I was annoyed, to say the least. But then I got mad Then I got hot and bothered because then we cut to, again, another earlier in the day where we see our girls, Carmen Petrovic, Brindley Reese, and Sol Ruka, like, squatting some iron. I was like, yes, workout. You go, girls. And then we are interrupted because Ashanti the Adonis flirts with them. And they're like, no. Carmen says she's going to return the favor for Ashanti costing the big match a few weeks ago. And I'm just like, we're going to talk about another segment later with a certain Miss Lyons and a certain Oba Femi. And I'm like, what is with the love storylines all of a sudden in NXT? Like, what is going on? I don't like it. It's not fun. I hated this segment. I hated this. I'm sorry, Macho. I hated this.
I know that's what we started texting. That was the part of the show that we started texting each other. It was just like, I don't want to see this shit. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't understand. Like, I thought we were done with that portion of professional wrestling. Like, it's 2024. We don't need that shit anymore. Like, it's weird. We should move on. Like, there are so many other ways to have women on screen. There are so many other ways to have new stars on screen. We don't need to have the whole lovers thing. Like, those characters never did well in professional wrestling, and yet they keep trying them. Like, the only time that a romance in professional wrestling does well is when it's a comedy act. When it's like, what's his face? Santino and Beth Phoenix. That's the only time where it does well. But other than that, no, man, we don't need to see this shit. I don't want to see this, and I don't really have anything nice to say about Nikita Lyons, so I might just like mime that part of the thing because I just I don't really get it. In-ring work, everything, just the whole thing, just that goes over my head. But yeah, I'm just not a fan of this whole thing or whatever. I love that Jada is in everything though. I have to disagree with you there. I love the fact that she's in everything because I feel like it suits her character. Like, I run this shit. Like, that's exactly how I feel about her. And I'm like, yeah, man, like, let's be all about it. Because you know what it does? It protects her in the ring. Because if somebody screws her over, if somebody schmozzes her finish, it's because she messed with them backstage. It's such a great way to protect the heel. And I think she is so good. I love that she's holding firm about her finisher. Like, she's done interviews where people are like, you got to change your finish. And she's like, no, like, it works for me. Like, I got some big old hips. Like, I'm going to use them. Right. And like last night, she used it twice. She did it back-to-back times to get the actual, like, we'll talk about that in a minute. But yeah, it was just like, I love the fact that Jada's like being utilized this way. Let's get her in as many segments as possible.
I agree with you. I think where I'm coming from is that I think Jada is on the rise to be a big star for NXT. There's a lot of potential there. And nothing against the OTM boys. And I love that she's running them technically. But I'm hoping that that's not what her whole entire time in NXT is going to relegate to. Because I want to see her. And I mean, we're seeing her do stuff on her own right now. I mean, we're going to talk about it right now because we get Jada versus Tatum after NXT announces that their November 6th show is going to come from the historic ECW arena in order to not go up against, Election Day, which is that Tuesday. So there's a whole other conversation to have because they will be going up against another promotion that also airs on Wednesday. So it's going to be interesting to say the least. I am not the person to have that conversation with because I watch everything. So I'm going to be Switzerland and bow out. But we are going to talk about Ms. Jada Parker versus Tatum Paxley, which I was super excited for when we got this announced last week. And you know what? I very enjoyed it. I love Jada. She is fantastic. She's one of my newer stars on NXT. And I love that Tatum has finally found a way since, being split from Lyra when Lyra got called up. And Tatum has kind of found her niche when it comes to her character, which is, she loves to play with dolls. I love it. These two did a phenomenal job. I really like this match. And I've said this on multiple occasions, and Macho's probably going to delete me from this later, but I have gone on record saying that at first I'm not a big fan of the hip check finisher from Jada Parker, but it seems that she has been working on how to execute it, because
Oh,
my
yeah.
issue was not that it was a finisher, it's just my criticism was the execution of it, because sometimes it would work and
Yeah.
sometimes it wouldn't. But in this match, it definitely worked, and I don't mind that she used it twice to get the win here. But Tatum put up a fight, but man, Jada Parker, 2 hip attacks, 1, 2, 3. Ms. Jada Parker is still running things.
Yeah.
So, Macho, we'll talk about what transpired afterwards on 2 fronts, because we had 2 individuals doing 2 separate things to progress 2 different storylines here. But how did we feel about the match itself between Jada and Tatum?
Well, originally I was I enjoyed the match. I didn't really enjoy the finish, but upon further review, I thought about it, and it's a go home show. And this just kind of helps me with knowing who's supposed to win the match on Sunday. So I was like, okay, usually the person that's the victor on the go home show, that's the person that jobs it out at the pay per view. So I was like, okay, this makes sense. Like Lola lost last week due to Jada's interference, and this week Jada gets the clean win. So it's like, okay, that makes sense to me. And we have that after. I thought the match itself was great. I love the fact that Tatum is doing her own thing. To me, she's a special talent. She's kind of very reminiscent of WWE, like Paige. That's kind of what I think of. Like, and honestly, I love drawing comparisons to the past, and she reminds me in the brightest spot ever of Daphne. And I love that. I love that. Like, I don't know if she's an inspiration to her, but those are the vibes I get. And it is so cool. So cool.
Macho, you have just went from a good friend to probably my best friend. I love that you mentioned Daphne, because no one talks about her as much as they should. And I'm like, she was a pioneer for women's wrestling in general. And of course, she's also the pioneer of one of my favorite match types in TNA too, with her and Abyss and all of them making the Monsters Ball match in TNA is probably one of my favorite stipulations. It's stupid, it's hokey, but when it works, it is fantastic. And of course, we're getting one this weekend at Bound for Glory, but I digress. That's for the Friday show. So then we get 2 different progressions of 2 different storylines. So, I mean, we were texting throughout this with the Jada match. We're like, if Lola doesn't come in and cost Jada the match, then what are we doing?
Yeah.
I mean, Lola did come out, but she was being held back by security. I'm like, I'm going to be honest, you guys. I know she has to play it up, but let's be real. Lola Vice can kick all their asses if she really wanted to.
100%. Yep. Yeah,
And
she can get about it.
I'm kind of bummed, because I was expecting, okay, maybe we do Lola and Jada at Halloween Havoc, and nope, we're gonna wait on that. I'm like, oh man, I'm not. When we get there, I love you, Kalani. I really, really do. But I would have rather seen Lola and Jada go at it, because I don't even think NXT knows what they're doing with you in terms of who their opponent is. Which I have a bone to pick with NXT when we get to the very end of this show, because continuity matters to me, and then we just disregard the rules. I'm like, what the flip? Meanwhile, while this is happening, Wendy Chu just commits kidnapping charges. Like, she grabs Tata, puts her in the rolling case, and then Wendy Chu is just kidnapping her. I'm like, what in the horror movie is about to go down? And I'm just like, I'm here for it, but I'm just like, what is happening? We have a whole NXT is wild. We have fights in the parking lot. People are getting kidnapped. Like, people get thrown off buildings. And what made this crazier, and we'll talk about it when we get there, people know that Wendy kidnapped Tatum, because with the people involved in the backstage segment after we get back from commercial.
Yeah.
Like, what is happening? We're just kidnapping people now. I'm just like, oh my gosh.
No, I really enjoyed it. I gotta be honest with you. I know bringing her up is a negative, but this is what Rhonda fought for right here. This is what she has spoken about. She's talked about it ad nauseum. She wanted storylines for the women outside of the world titles. And NXT does a better job than any wrestling promotion, whether it's TNA, whether it's AEW, whether it's WWE, and I know they are a WWE. They're under the umbrella. But let's look at this. We have Kalani and her and we have Lola and Jada. We have Lash feuding like Lash and Jakara. We have Tatum and we have Wendy.
Yeah.
Right? We have like the women are taking over NXT. This is like their show. The men are the afterthought, and it feels great because listen, I get it. Like Shawn Michaels is cooking, he's been doing great, but I really think at some point somebody needs to point this out that it wasn't just Ronda. There were other people, but like she was the most outspoken about it. I'm just really happy that we finally have a brand in professional wrestling that prioritizes women's wrestling. And this to me was awesome. It was just awesome.
It definitely was. And I am super excited. And when we talk about the very end of the show too, because they swerved us when we were going to get our third, powerhouse, which we'll talk about at the end. But after Jada wins, we cut backstage. Lexis King tells Willy Wonka himself, Charlie Dempsey, that he wants a shot at the Heritage Cup. Charlie obliges, and now Lexis King needs to find a corner man. And that is what we proceed to see him do. The rest of the episode was trying to figure out a corner man. I'm like, okay. We go to commercial.
Let's talk about that line, though. Let's talk about that line. You bring it up as daddy. That was pretty good. People call me the loose cannon. I was like, hold up.
And you know what, Macho? This was my biggest issue because he kept going back when he first initially came to NXT and he debuted at last year's Halloween Havoc, might I add. And leading up to this, we were still going between I hate my dad, but I won't like him. And I was just like, now he wants to be his own person. I was just like, finally, we found a side to stick on, so let's keep going with it. Look, as much as I've already said, I don't like the fake beard, but you know what? If this is going to start the progression of Lexis King to actually do something more than what we've seen him do so far in NXT, I'm here for it. And you know what? If he's got to go through Charlie Dempsey to do so, then so be it. So then we have Javon and Axiom and Cedric Alexander witness Wendy cart off Tatum inside. They know she's inside. They make a comment on it, and then they go back to what they're supposed to cut with this scripted promo. So Axiom and Cedric give Javon flowers, even though he didn't win the triple threat last week. He definitely was an integral part of it. We said as much last week. We love Javon. Then Nathan Frazier comes in, and then he's just very passive aggressive. And this was like, oh, these are the people I hate with passion. I was just like passive aggressiveness with it. But then it got spicy because Javon was like, okay, dude, we're not going to have this. And then he literally he slaps Nathan Frazier across the face. Frazier gets angry. Everybody's got to be separated for a little bit. Javon backs off a little bit, and Wes is watching on, being a little instigator from the corner, tells Javon, is like, hey, man, you know what? I was in your position. People are going to come attacking you because of your age and everything, blah, blah, blah. And then he says the exact same thing before walking off because Javon gets mad. So, again, we are continuing to tease the inevitable clash of Javon and Wes. But it also seems like, and, we'll put this here now. Next week, we're getting Javon and Cedric versus Fraxium in a match. Not for the titles, but for the match. And I'm like, you know what? I'm here for it. And I also feel like I'm alone when I say this. I want to see Cedric do things in NXT now. I feel like he's fantastic. I liked him when we had 205 Live in that division, then 205 division. So let's get Cedric into this ring. And now that we've kind of pulled him and Ashanti the Adonis apart. So thankfully Cedric has gotten away from all that.
Yeah, I mean, I gotta be honest, my favorite portion of this was the Javon and Wes argument. The rest of the stuff was filler for me. I was like, okay, cool. You slapped the kid, Frazier, it was all good, but I wanted to be invested. And the moment they panned and I saw my boy Wes, I was like, yes, this is what I want. Wes
this is the Javon. Real stuff you need to focus on.
This is it, because this is the match that will feed families. This is the match right here, because these two are gonna give us that, like, they're gonna give us that cruiserweight battle that we all want, and I'm all here for it. And I love that you bring up Cedric, because if you remember, Cedric was a part of one of the coolest feuds in 205 Live with him and Buddy Murphy. So I love, or him and Mustafa. So I love that he's kind of there, but it's kind of like as a reminder to fans to be like, okay, well, here we have this as well. And I'm very excited for it. I love everything Wes is doing. Javon has really made me a fan. So I'm excited. The Wendy Chu thing is like, that's odd. Like, they just let it happen, and they were like, it's none of our problem. It's none of our business.
Yeah.
And it's funny. It makes me think of New Yorkers, because that's like a New York thing. Like,
Yeah.
like in New York, like, you mind your fucking business. Like, that's what it is. You just mind your business. That's not nothing to do with me. No, I don't want none of that. You put me in that box. Look how
I
serious she
totally
is. Get out of
agree.
here.
It's crazy.
Yep.
They're just. I love that they acknowledge it in this weird world of NXT, and then they go on about their day, which I love it for sure.
Yep.
But again, Wes versus Javon, that is the match I'm looking forward to whenever we get it. I would love to see it. Which then, after we see that Adriana Rizzo, somebody attacked her. So, like, the family's getting attacked to truly leave Tony D'Angelo by himself for this upcoming Sunday. We get probably my favorite promo of the entire night, and this is the pre-taped interview promo from Miss Stephanie Vaquer and Julia.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And I melted. I was like, yes, subtitles. Let them speak in their languages. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I also love that Stephanie subtly corrects people, because when people look at Stephanie, and when I've seen people talk about, so yeah, she's in CMLL. So how does it feel to wrestle for Mexico? No, she's not from Mexico. She's Chilean. There's a whole different thing.
Oh yeah.
But watching those pictures and videos, and her talking about how she's built herself up from scratch, and she has done it all in Europe, Japan, South America, Mexico, and now she's here in WWE. I was just like, Stephanie, this is why I'm so happy you're here. And then, not to be upshown, but Julia also lists her accolades, and the two of them have fought before, but now they're on the same side. And Macho, I am excited to see this tag match, but what I'm more excited about is when NXT wants to pull the trigger, give me Julia and Stephanie round 2. Like, give me that match. This was my favorite promo. I love that within 2 minutes, we got the history of both women. We get why they are here, and we get invested and excited for their match against Roxanne and Cora at Halloween Havoc. I love this.
Yeah, I agree. I have nothing negative to say here. This is beautiful. I'm all for representation. So I love the fact that Stephanie corrects people, that she lets people know, like, hey, what's up? Because, I mean, that's like a normal trope with Latinos and Hispanics. Like, they are two different things, by the way, people. Latino and Hispanic is not the same thing. And it's just one of those things where, like, you got to correct people. Like, that's how it has to be. And I love the fact that they're allowing her to do that. And, man, when we talk about this match later, oh, my God. I have so much, like, I am going to be oozing. I'm going to be like a kid on Christmas morning, because this match later was, oh, my God. I just feel it. I feel it. I'm so excited to talk about this match. This is the whole reason I was so excited about this show today, because I didn't think we were going to do the show for a hot minute, and I was like, damn, I really want to talk about that match. But yeah, it was just one of those things. I'm excited for it, but yeah, I was also excited for the tease.
Oh, absolutely. I'm like, once we figure out the whole Roxanne Corey Jade situation, NXT is ready to throw Julia and Stephanie at each other. But then I'm also
that's not the tease.
Oh, do tell.
We're talking about the Stephanie and Julia and the Sky Pirates.
Oh, yes, that part. Sorry.
Yes.
I kid you not. There's a little notebook. I don't have it on me currently. I think it's in my bag across the room, but I have because I write down and when I fantasy book, I write it down so I don't forget. There's probably a list of like 7 to 8 matches since Stephanie debuted in NXT that of who I want to see. And I do have the Sky Pirates or any combination of Asuka, Kyrie, or Io.
Well, they
versus
teased
them.
us tonight. They put the 4 of them on screen together.
Listen, I want to shout out to the people on Twitter because those are my favorite people. Like, people were reposting that still shot of them looking at each other, and I'm like, this match is not about. This match is gonna go beyond feeding families.
Oh.
It's about to feed the whole entire continent. It's gonna feed the world. Like,
listen, that yes, because anybody, and I did post that video today. Anybody that has seen that Kyrie versus Julia match, they beat the shit out of each other. Like, it was like, oh man, the slap for slap out. That was crazy. Like, just watching them, and they are hitting each other hard. Like, people know this about Julia, but the thing is, if you like, Kyrie is tough, man. She is tough. So I'm excited for it. I think this is gonna be a fun time. These two women are I just want to see it. I really want to see Stephanie versus Rhea. That's what I want to see.
Yes, I love it too. Rhea is going to have some really great matches coming down in the next couple of years with all of, well, not just the 3 that we got in NXT, but I would even throw like the top women of NXT down there too, like Rhea versus. Listen, when Lash is ready for main roster, Lash versus Rhea would be fantastic. Like Rhea versus Julia and Stephanie and Miss Delta, who's now going by Zarya, which we'll talk about a little bit. Rhea versus Roxanne versus Cora versus, Jada versus Rhea would be interesting too.
Yeah,
Rhea versus everybody.
There's one match. I love Rhea, and I'm a massive Rhea fan, and I want to say that, but there is no fantasy match that I am more excited about than Julia versus Bianca Belair.
Yes,
because those two, I feel like, are so contrasting. But Bianca has that athleticism. I feel like people don't even know what to look at when these two finally come face to face. But it is going to be, I immediately believe that will be the match of the year. The moment they have it, I'm expecting it to be the match of the year. That's how I feel about it. It's going to be one of those special matches. Almost like the first time Shayna and Kyrie touched, where it was like, wow, they're just perfect for each other. Mm-hmm. They don't even, it doesn't make sense. Kyrie and Shayna shouldn't be able to put on a match that good together, but they're just so good, But yeah, I'm excited for it too. Yeah, plus when Julia and Shayna go at it, oh my God. Like, that's going to be, somebody's walking out with a black eye. Yeah, it's going to be great.
I'm so ready. I cannot
Let's give Shayna some love, man. Why isn't nobody talking about Shayna, the Queen of Spades? Let's go.
Oh my goodness, we love it to see it. And honestly, I'm glad we talked at length about this because the next couple of things were like a little bit. But next up we have Oba Femi versus Luca Crucifino. Let's be real, this was a glorified squash match.
Yep.
And it sets up Oba Femi making Tony watch as he destroys Luca and Stacks, and just basically truly making Tony the only person in his corner for their match at Halloween Havoc. I'm like, nothing more to be said. Oba Femi continues to be a powerhouse. Like,
yep. They're building him for the main roster. He's already out the door.
Oh,
he's not winning this match. He's out the door.
I will be shocked if Tony loses on Sunday. I'll be like,
yeah, me too.
Anyways,
I'll be shocked.
So then we get a pre-tape Andre Chase vignette in which it is announced that Andre and Ridge Holland will be going at it at Halloween Havoc in an ambulance match. And I'm just like, okay. Like, I didn't hate it. I didn't love it. I'm like, okay. Now, Thea, you need it. Now, though, if this ends with Thea closing the ambulance door on Andre Chase, then I'll be like,
that would be phenomenal. But listen, I'm not going to do the Adam Cole thing. I'm not going to do that. I'm not that guy. But if you want me to believe that Jack Skellington with a fucking goatee is going to beat up, like, it's just, I'm sorry. There's no way that I believe that this makes any sense to me. Like
No.
Ridge looks like baby Lesnar, and you're telling me that all of it, Jack Skellington in a varsity sweatshirt is gonna win this match? No, get out of here. I don't believe it. I'm sorry. This
No.
is wild to
There,
me.
like, and even if it ended up being like Ridge versus Duke, I was just like, okay, Duke's probably going to lose, but I believe that more because Duke's a big
Yeah.
boy as well. But you mean, yeah, you're right. I'm looking at this. I'm like, Andre, I love you, but you about to get your ass beat. Like,
Well, the thing
to
is, I'm
me,
watching it, right? And the first thing that popped into my head was, what's this? What's this? There's color everywhere. I was like, get out of here. Like, I'm gonna take this guy seriously. Like, I don't even understand this Timu Spirit Squad. Get out of here.
I'm just like, I'm like, yeah, I'm just like, I don't know. And I like, just from a booking standpoint, I'm like, I'm looking at Ridge, I'm looking at Andre, I'm like, I am a very look, I suspend my disbelief when it comes to wrestling. You kind of have to a certain extent. But you cannot pay me enough to believe that, you know, Brick House Rich Holland is going to lose to Andre Chase. Now, granted, it's an ambulance match with basically anything goes, and the only way you could win is to, get your opponent in the ambulance and close the doors.
Yeah.
Fine. But Ridge, look at that man. That is all I have to say. Look at that man. Like,
That's what I'm saying. He's a monster. It doesn't even make sense. Like, it just listen. Ambulance matches, baby faces usually win. So I'm expecting him to beat Ridge. Like, but it just in my mind, it's just like I'm gonna be there, like
Ridge
watching
should
this,
win.
being like, no, this should not happen. Like,
I know you. See, I'm also being messy too because I'm like, I don't want you to be on your phone, but I may or may not be texting you, be like, are you seeing this shit right now?
yeah.
I'll be like, this is where I'm at. Like, what is happening? I'm so excited for live coverage. I cannot wait. It's gonna be fun. But again, Obafemi wins. We had the Andre Chase segment. We get this next up. We get Trick Williams and Ethan Page going face to face in a promo off. Ethan Page, all ego. I loved you from the beginning, and I love you even more. This was great, and I'm like, I love you, Trick, but I'm kind of rooting for Ethan here now. Like,
I don't listen. So I've been watching wrestling for 36 years now, right? I just hit 40. So it's been 36 years officially. And I don't remember very many times in pro wrestling where I was a massive fan of the babyface and the heel, right? But I'm pulling for the heel. I'm a fan of Trick. I've been on record on TikTok and Twitter where I said that Trick was the bigger star between him and Mello. That's just how I've always felt. And so I'm a fan of his. Ethan Page cut this promo yesterday. I felt like this was main roster worthy. Like the moment he was done talking, I thought to myself, this guy doesn't belong in NXT. He's way too polished for this company. Like, don't get me wrong. Like Cody said today in his interview, like they're no longer like they're not like the underling brand or whatever. They're just breeding monsters, people that you're going to be face to face with again in a couple of like months or years or whatever. And I feel the same way. Like, I don't know if this is supposed to be a learning place, but I feel like Ethan Page to me is ready for the next level. I've never seen someone progress so quickly with his promo since The Miz. Nobody's been that fast. Like, he's that good. His in-ring work is stellar. And his promo ability is, I don't know. He speaks, like he said, it's 17 years and it shows. You could tell he has passion for this business. He loves this business. And what I love most about it is even though he really did well in that promo, at no point did he bury Trick, which is the mark of a pro. It was beautiful.
And that's exactly what you want to see in these kinds of like big main event feel type of, matches, because, Trick is at the top of the card as the NXT champ. All Ego has been around the block more than most of us can say. He's been through years of wrestling. And he has gone through some learning pains. Like, if anyone didn't know this too, like when he was in TNA/Impact, when it was under, the in-between between the Dixie Carter and the what would inevitably become what we know as the Scott D'Amore era. He had the Jeff Jarrett era of everything. And, All Ego had a little bit of an ego, and it kind of bit him in the butt when he was there. But, he took that and he learned from it, and he grew. He humbled himself. We saw him in AEW. He was there in Ring of Honor. Now he's in NXT. And I'm like, I've always wanted for Ethan Page to finally get to a place where All Ego is where he needs to be and is given the due and the respect that he deserves. And I'm so happy to see him in this position. Like, I love Trick Williams. And like you said, nowhere in this promo did Ethan belittle him, take cheap shots, In
fact, he does the opposite. He talks about his washboard abs and how he's a good-looking man and how he's super athletic. Like, he propped him up.
He is the face of this. But
Trick was the complete opposite of Karrion Kross and Adam Cole. Adam Cole did that, and I'm sure people in the back were like, "Go out there and let's see what you like. Like, this is the only way people are going to find you formidable." And he made Karrion Kross look awful during that promo, like, "Oh, you got the lights, you got the spectacular, you got the girl, you know what they do to make me feel special, ring the freaking bell." And it's like, come on, man. Like, that's like, I get it.
That was harsh.
Yeah, and he like, what's he supposed to say to that? Like, "Oh no, I'm better than you." Like, no, there's nothing he can say to that. You put him in a position where he couldn't defend himself. Like, that's what it was. And we didn't see that yesterday. And what I loved is that Trick, like, you could tell that Trick knows his limitations, right? So he knows he can't promo with Ethan, but he's still kind of like, I don't give a shit what you got to say. Like, the way he spins around to leave, almost like, you say what you got to say, I'll show you on Sunday. And
it's literally like I'll see you. It's literally the "I will see you on the court" thing of like what professional athletes do. It's just like, we can talk all we want, and at the end of the day, the skill is going to show, and somebody's walking out a winner, somebody's walking out a loser. So we'll let the work and the tape afterwards speak for itself. So I'm excited. This made me super excited. I like the prospect of Trick and Ethan in this Devil Playgrounds match, but now I'm invested. And that's what a go home show needs to be. Like,
well, did you watch the rap song that Ethan Page dropped today?
Yes. I love that. Oh my gosh. Let me tell you, when wrestlers go out of their way to put these feuds they are in over without the quote unquote corporate, the claw, as Toy Story has taught me, it is amazing. I'm still mad that, when Tamina was trying to put herself over during the COVID era with this crazy new character, I was here for it. And then they made her take it down. I was so pissed.
Oh man, it was Vince. That's how Vince was.
I know. But Ethan and this rap song, I was like, Joe Hendry did rub off on you in some capacity.
This was amazing.
Oh my goodness. I'm excited for this. What's probably going to end up being our main event. You know what? I would love to see the women main event. I don't know, but things can change because NXT does crazier things on the dime. So who knows?
Yeah,
we'll see. I am excited for this Devil's Playground match. And I'm excited to see how Trick does in a truly gimmick match. I mean, he had the cage match with Carmelo, but it was like the safest cage match I ever saw, which was weird. But now we get to see, because Devil's Playground is a whole different ball game in the sense that we get to use plastic play stuff as weapons. So this is going to be fun. I like creativity. So this is going to be good. So backstage, Cora Jade and Roxanne are talking about how Julia and Stephanie don't stand a chance against them at Halloween Havoc. And I'm like, girls, I love you. But I was like, but who knows? You know what? Shenanigans can be abound. Something can happen. And then Fatal Influence joins the conversation. JC leads it by saying that neither Julia or Stephanie belong in NXT. I'm like, you shut your mouth, JC. You don't say that. I'm just kidding. I love JC so much. But Kalani comes in and fires back. Is like, you five are nervous because the power you once had is slipping through your fingers because these new girls are coming in.
Mhm.
And without saying the words, Kalani is just like, this women's division is about to be on and popping. Like,
Yep.
y'all need to step it up or you ain't gonna get used. And I was like, ooh. And then Fatal Influence says something that kind of like broke my gears a little bit and started me going back at the tape last week because they were like, you know what, Kalani, we'll see who you're facing at Halloween Havoc.
Yep.
I'm like, wait, hold up. I was like, but you have to win, right? That was what Ava said last week. Fatal Influence needs to win to get this match against Kalani.
Mhm.
We will talk about it when we get to our main event. But first, I'm so mad that we have to use this stupid love story, in this match because on paper, we could have had something better. Like, I know Carmen needs to get there still, but I think Carmen's a great addition to the women's roster. Sol Ruca is also fantastic. But the fact that the focus on this was more of this jealousy angle that Carmen has with Ashanta the Adonis and everything going on, which allows Soul to pick up the win with the Soul Snatcher. I'm just like, you wasted my time, NXT. Like, what is happening? I do not care about this jealousy storyline, and for it to be the reason that Carmen loses is ridiculous.
Well, I think they need to come up with something because it's clear that there are plans for Soul. Like, she is definitely. I think Soul's going to be one of those people that never gets a title but goes to the main roster. Because she's just. I don't know what she does that's green anymore.
Right?
Like, to me, the only thing stopping Soul from being on the main roster is the fact that the main roster is overloaded.
Right.
Because I think she can go to the main roster right now and she can compete and just I feel like she would make the same transition Lyra did. Where like Lyra is one of those people that like you can tell the roster, the people in the main roster, like the fans, don't really know her. But you know what happens that I've only seen a handful of times in my life? By the end of the match, they're chanting, "This is awesome." Because that's how good Lyra is. No other woman wrestler has that happen in wrestling today.
So
She's
let's
that
talk about it
special.
too. So I knew that Soul was. You're right. There's nothing that is like green anymore about her. And, despite me throwing things at people saying, oh, I don't like too choreographed stuff. What made me believe, I was like, I feel like Soul's kind of ready for the next level, whether it's here in NXT or the main roster, was her match against Kalani at Heatwave. Like, to me, I was just like, oh, yeah, I think this match has proven that Soul's probably ready for the next level, whether it's the women's title in NXT or put her up on main roster. Yeah. I think she is just steps above some of the other women, which is not a bad thing because we want to see every woman improve and learn and things like that. But to me, I'm like, Soul's ready. And I'm wondering if that's why she's been on, not loan, but she's been working in TNA for the last couple of weeks. She's been partnering with Jordan and Masha Slamovich, which those are some of my two favorite women right now. I love them so much. But Soul's been in TNA for a little bit. And I'm like, I'm not saying she should defect. However, if you want to keep having Soul be in TNA for a little bit, as in like extra body in the knockouts division, I'm not going to say no. But I think Soul is ready for something. And I want to see something more for Carmen than stupid this love storyline. I hate it.
Well, the thing about Carmen is the best part of her right now is her entrance. Like, she definitely has some work to do in the ring. She definitely she thinks a lot. You could tell she takes a lot of pauses and it's not pacing. Like, we're gonna talk pacing in the main event, with Stephanie, because Stephanie's about pacing. You could tell the way she like breathes and she feels everything out. Like Stephanie, I have a great comparison to Stephanie Barcourt. I think the moment I say it, you're gonna be like, oh yeah, I think you're right. She does remind me of that person. But yeah, with Carmen, it definitely feels like she's unsure of herself. And when I watch it, like you can kind of, even being out there with someone as polished as Soul, and I don't think Soul is choreographed. I think I honestly think the opposite. I think she's just like her character is very
Right.
much who she is. She's a
No,
live for the moment
I
type of
agree.
person.
I just hated that people said, "Oh, the match between her and Kalani at Heatwave was too choreographed." I'm like, "What you want from them?" Just because they were doing flips and things like that, I was just like, "These
Man,
girls."
that was the same fucking guy that gave the same match from 5 years ago 5 stars. Like he's an idiot. I don't even.
I'm just
listen to
like,
that
"What
guy.
the hell is
Like,
happening?" But
he's a clown. He's a clown.
oh,
He's
for
just one of
sure.
those weird things.
Well, I mean, you mentioned clowns, and this is how I felt from this next match afterwards because we get Hank and Tang taking on OTM.
Ugh,
I mean, and I'm just like, this did not need to be here. This was less than
no.
5 minutes. You know, Hank and Tank win. Cool. I would have been okay with this, but then I got mad because then you have Lola come in and be like, how do I put this nicely? She's basically like doing her shtick with the boys, and I'm just like, this is stupid. Why are we doing this to Lola? Like, girl can kick ass. Let her kick ass. She doesn't need to be dancing in the middle of the ring with these white boys. Like, I am sorry.
Yeah.
I was like, ew.
This whole thing was just bad. Like I feel like I don't know. It filler. It's the best thing I could put. Like, yeah.
I'm
It's
just
fine.
like, it is what it is. It's whatever. So I'm just gonna go through what's left before we get into our main event of the evening because there was some other stuff and I forgot why I didn't put this in where it needs to for the notes. But Nathan Frazier's yelling at Ava. We get the tag team match made for next week. Ridge Holland responds with his own video promo, which is pretty much the same thing. He's a monster. He's going to destroy Chase U from the inside. I'm like, I can't believe I'm rooting for, somebody overthrowing the institution that is Chase U, but I'm here for it. You're like, down with the education. No, I'm just kidding. And then I'm not going to read too much into it, but Nikita Lyons was talking to, our boys, Tariq and Tyson, which Tyreek and Tyson DuPont, if you have not seen their work on, Level Up, Next Level, whatever you want to call it, I think they have the potential to be a really great tag team. I love their presentation. I love them boys. I love their journey. I don't know, and I'm not going to read too much into it, but Obafemi returns Nikita Lyons' robe because she left it somewhere. I'm like, how do you lose something that elegant? Anyways, but Nikita and Oba are doing a thing. I'm like, I'm just gonna pretend that it was just one thing. We're not gonna continue on with this. It was just a thing. But I hated the audience was losing their mind with this. I'm like, no, you guys, don't do this. Don't do this. Don't do this to Nikita. Don't do this to Oba. Nobody needs this.
So, yeah, I don't know because I feel like Oba stands on his own. He doesn't need. He's a great promo. He's got a great look. He's a phenomenal wrestler. He's a monster, and this feels more like WWE's way of trying to push Nikita. Like they like Nikita Lyons. They want her to be in a prominent role, and they want to have the Obafemi rub. I think typically it's the other way around, right? But she needs like help, and because of her injury, like I think she was on the fast track, and then her injury messed it up. So that's kind of how I felt.
That's very fair. But again, we can put all those things behind us because we get to our main event, and what a fantastic main event this was. I'm not going to lie, this saved this show from being a worse grade than I was originally going to give it. And this match has saved it. So spoiler alert, if you check out the social medias that I do, I have started doing recap, posts and everything with the template I've made. And this match pushed it up from what was going to be a C show to a C+ for me. And then that's because of how great this match was. This saw Julia and Stephanie Vaquer taking on the team of Fatal Influence, which is being represented in this match by JC Jane and Fallon Henley, with Jasmine Nix running interference on the outside. You mentioned pacing, and I'm just like, I have been given the gift of great pacing in this. Like, this was great, and I'm just like, see, you guys, it's not that hard. Like, we don't need to do squash matches. They don't need to be like 30-minute epics. Like, the sweet spot is like good 12 to 15 minutes and just let everybody work in and put on a show. And this was my favorite match of the whole entire show.
Yeah,
Like hands down,
absolutely.
easily. Like Macho, like let's talk about it. This match, what do we think?
I just want to be very clear. I had no idea that JC and the girls were this good. Now, you can say, and this is why I'm comparing Stephanie to this person, as I'm now going to dub her Stephanie the Hitman Valcour. Because
Woo!
that's who she reminds me of. When I watched her perform, I watched someone that makes the other person look like they are the best wrestler in the world. That's what Bret did. I am a huge Bret Hart fan. I can recite you his matches. I can watch his matches on mute and then do commentary on Bret Hart matches because I've studied them so much. When I watch Stephanie, that's what I see. Don't get me wrong. I think Julia is equally as phenomenal. But there's something about Stephanie that the way she works, the way she's able to make the other person look. And this is the second week in a row. Because last week she worked Ren, right? And I was thinking that Ren was one of the best. I was like, damn, why is she not on TV more? And then I started doing more research, and people are like, that's her best match she's had to date. And I'm like, what? I didn't know she was like, I thought she was that good all the time. That's what Stephanie does. Now, don't get me wrong, JC is amazing. She was one of the best from Toxic Attraction, so I'm not gonna like say anything negative about her. I don't want to do that. But the way Stephanie and Julia have come in and they have raised the bar, you can tell all of the women feel like this is what we needed. Like it's not like and I want to say that with the utmost respect. I feel like the other company in Jacksonville, when a star comes in, they're like, oh, okay, this star is supposed to elevate us. Like, that's what we're supposed to do. Here in NXT, what I've seen over the past couple of weeks with Julia and Stephanie, it's like the women here have taken it as a challenge. Like, okay, we are going to meet you and show you that we can keep up with you. We are going to study. We are going to work. And we are going to show that you're not going to come in here and lap us. And that's exactly what I'm watching. Because I've seen matches with JC and the girls, and I've never thought, like, I was like, okay, they're fine. They're not great. But last night, I was like, holy shit. Like, this was amazing. This match was just beautiful. And, oh my God, I cannot express how excited I am for the future of NXT. And I said this on a video the other day. The three women, well, two, because I'll let you do the introduction for the last one. But the women that are in NXT that just showed up, they're not there for long. Not at all. Not at all. Like that. Like the only person that I see going up faster than them is the NXT champ right now, because I think she's on her way out.
Yeah, I think Roxanne is ready to get into the main roster.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said me and our third permanent co-host, which by the way, I'll announce that news at the end of it too. But yeah, I love this match. So they had to cram in what like the last 2 or 3 minutes of everything to kind of get everything. And it was an emotional roller coaster for the 90 seconds that we had. Or yeah, so I'm just sitting here and I'm just like, no, the 612, 180. See, I can do math, I promise. Anyways, so Julia and Stephanie win.
Yes.
You know, cool, love it. Roxanne and Cora Jade have a standoff with the girls. Kalani gets in the ring to celebrate with them. Fatal influence, not attraction.
Yeah. Sorry.
I want to see attraction so bad. Like, I really do. It just sounds better. But anyways, so I'm sitting here. I'm like, okay, well, that sucks. I guess Kalani's not having a match. But you know what? You know, the girls didn't win. That was the stipulation that Ava gave them last week. And then I see JC spin the wheel. I'm like, ma'am.
Yeah.
What? And so the wheel stops at Spinner's Choice. And I'm like, but they just might be doing this just for show, right? Like, that's fine and everything. Fast forward to earlier today. Kalani will be defending her championship against one of the members of Fatal Influence. And we will find out the day of Halloween Havoc at the event as it goes live what that stipulation is. And I'm just sitting here and I'm just like, but you didn't win. Why do you move? Anyways, so I was mad. And then that anger went away because as soon the lights went out, I'm like, holy crap, what is about to happen? And then the last 20 seconds of NXT is this shot of just bathed in light. She's now going by Zarya in NXT, which is great because that means she gets to keep her name Delta and what she's built with that. But Ms. Delta has arrived. We got swerved. We were supposed to get her at Halloween Havoc, and this was the ending shot. And I'm just like, oh my God, the NXT women's division is about to be crazier. Like Julia and Stephanie were one thing, but I'm not gonna lie, I was not expecting Delta so soon as she was, and I knew we were gonna get her at Halloween Havoc, but then I thought we were gonna bring her in slowly. Nah, they just put her on television, and just her aura. I'm just like, there's a reason that Rhea Ripley like welcomed her, and I'm just like, Rhea knows what Delta can do, and I am so ready for those who aren't familiar with Delta's work. As audience members, for the girls in that women's locker room, like I am excited for Delta to do the damn thing here in NXT. And this women's division is stacked. It was already stacked to begin with, but now it just got injected with 3 different flavors of spice. And oh my gosh, Shawn Michaels, don't fuck this up. I don't think he is. I was just like, there is potential to have women's storyline feed us for years to come. Like, that ending shot gave me goosebumps. I'm so pumped. Macho, what did you think?
I just want to say this as a massive, like, I don't think I've ever expressed this on this podcast, but or on to you, but I am a like huge fan of AJ Lee. Like, very, very big. Like, her book inspired me. I've read that book 5 times. I've listened to it. I have it saved on my audiobook. Like, whenever I'm feeling depressed or anything, I listen to that book. It has helped me. And I remember a time where main roster people would not talk about the under promotion. And I remember AJ talks about getting in trouble for shouting out people like Bayley before Bayley was ever a thing. And when I saw that tweet by Raquel, I'm sorry, shit, I just lost my whole thought.
It's okay. We were talking about AJ Lee and shouting out Bayley and all that good stuff. So, but
yes, but when I saw that tweet from Rhea, I thought to myself, this is what that reminds me of. It is her. This is exactly her. Like, she's weird and wonderful, just like AJ. And she wants to prop up the women that are like coming up. And I was just so excited because I feel like Delta coming in is going to be an added element. It's women, all different shapes, sizes, from all different backgrounds. And I wanted to say this, and I was hoping that like you wouldn't get there before me. And I don't know if you had this thought. NXT, I feel like, has turned into the every week Mae Young Classic. This is what it is now.
I 100% agree. And I'm not gonna lie, Macho, like my boys know this here, and my close wrestling friends in real life know this. But so really quickly, people thought I was crazy to continue to champion NXT when we got out of the black and gold era because I was in on the jokes, the Nickelodeon slime era when we got that color rebrand of 2.0. And then, the weirdness that was how we were booking things and all that stuff. People thought I was crazy to go through that 2.0 version to get into 2.5, into what we got here in the silver, the black and silver, the chrome era, if you will.
Yeah.
But one thing that I have never dissuaded on, never gave up, is I knew this women's division had the potential to do something amazing. And
Yes.
people are like, oh, this women's division is dead because like the Ios and the Raquels and the Rheas all had moved up to main roster at this point. And they're like, there's nobody good in here. And I was like, no, that's not true, because you have Roxanne, like you
Yes.
had Cora,
Cora.
you know, and then as I continued to hold on, we eventually got, you know, JC Jade, you know, with that whole thing. Blair Davenport was here for a little bit before she got called up to main roster. Lyra Valkyria, like, I have championed this women's division for the longest time, and now in a weird sick satisfaction, I love the naysayers now looking at this roster is like, damn, he was speaking some truth in this. And I was like, I told you, you just had to give it time. And these three women, and with the current women we have in this roster, they are about to destroy. I'm gonna be real, I like some of the men's talent there, but if we just get mostly women's matches every single week, I will be forever happy. Like, that is where I'm at.
I mean, I gotta say, NXT, they ushered it in. It started with Paige and Emma, and they changed the game. That was the match that started it. It was like I'm a big basketball fan as well. Like, Larry and Magic got everybody interested in basketball again. And then Michael took it, right? And that's exactly how I look at it. Paige and Emma got everybody excited, but it was the Charlotte and Natty match that changed the game. Like, yes, Paige and Emma got the time, and it was the inaugural NXT Women's Championship, and it was that match is forever one of the greatest matches I've ever seen. But that Charlotte and Natty match with Brett in one corner and Rick in the other corner was like, dude, you have these legends here. Like, this is wild. This is amazing, right? And that changed everything. And kudos to NXT for never, ever like pushing down the women's roster. They have always, from the beginning, and because you think about it, some of the best women's matches in WWE history come from this brand. We're talking Sasha, Bayley 1 and 2, the Iron Man match, and then the Iron Woman match, and then the Brooklyn match. Like, we're talking Charlotte versus Io versus Rhea. We're talking Kyrie versus Shayna. We're talking Becky versus Sasha. Like, some of these matches that happened on this brand, and then we have continued to have this stuff. Like, most recently, we have a match that I never see anybody talk about, but Lola versus Roxanne was amazing.
Oh, that match was phenomenal at Heat Wave.
Like, we're talking like, and then like, we haven't even, and I don't want to like say anything negative about her. We haven't even seen, like, I promise you, Mike, I promise you, Cora is good. She is awesome.
No, I agree with you 100%. Like, she is fantastic.
Yes, and she's one of those people that I feel like people just don't know how good she is because she's been injured with really bad injuries twice.
Mm-hmm.
But I promise you, she is one of the best wrestlers on the planet right now. And she will show herself. And you can see it already with the way she's working. She's working slower pace. She's not trying to be like, because originally I was like, okay, she's just like a big AJ mark. Like, you're just trying to be everything AJ was, you know. But now you're watching her and it's like she's coming into her own. And I'm telling you, man, she's a crisp worker. And you could tell by the way she takes a back bump. And it's weird. I know that's something silly, but you could tell by the way she takes a back bump. Like, it is just like, okay, that's crisp. That's so fast. And she's really good. I love this. I really love what we got from NXT with the women. And yeah, it would be fine if they decided to get the men off. Let's do it. Get them out of here.
Yeah, honestly, I would love it. Well, that does bring us to the end of this week's NXTilosos review. So last thing we got to do is to give our empanada ratings. So I will go first. So I try to align my empanadas with the same way I give my social media recaps. So this was a C+ show. The main event saved it. So I will give this, even though it's in the 6s, I give this like a 6.5 out of 10 empanadas for me. Again, I thought the main event definitely, saved it. The promo between Trick and Ethan was fantastic. Mm-hmm. But there was just a lot of filler. And for a go-home show, I mean, it didn't even feel like that, and I felt so bad. I mean, we're getting an ambulance match, but I'm just like, y'all waited till the last minute to get us there. And then, Kalani's gonna I'm excited to see Kalani because I think she's fantastic. I just wish that we actually had an actual good feud leading into this for her. I mean, she's facing one of the Fatal Influence girls, or who knows, it could be a 3-on-1, but I digress. But this was a lot of filler, and there was a lot of stuff that I didn't necessarily vibe with. So I'm like giving this a 6.5 out of 10. I still enjoyed the show, and I don't think 6.5 is bad, but this was not a great go home show by any means. So Macho, what do you think? What are your empanada ratings?
I'm giving this a 6 out of 10. I love the Ethan Page and Trick promo. I loved the Stephanie and Julia segments, both of them. I love the tease of the Sky Pirates with Stephanie and Julia. But my biggest issue is I just felt like there was more bad than good. That's how I felt about it. Like, this week was very strange. I don't like the interruption for Lash and Jakara. Like, I'm sorry. Like, fool me once, shame on me. Fool me twice, like, fuck you. Like, like it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't want to see that. Like, give these women time to shine. Like, you're positioning them to be on the main roster, so let us see that. Like, let us get there. And that's exactly what I want. So yeah, I'm giving this a 6 out of 10. Although, I feel like if it wasn't for Julia and Stephanie, I probably would have given this a 4. Like, I thought this was a really rough show.
Like, yeah, I agree with you. And like I said, and we kind of talked a little bit on air and off air too. Had the main event not happened, I would have definitely been a little bit harsher with it. But the main event definitely saved this. I am still excited for Halloween Havoc, which is happening this Sunday. And I mean, you're gonna be there live. So I'm not gonna lie, be like, FaceTime me. Just kidding. Like, I'm excited. I'm excited for you to be there live. Again, even though it was 2 years ago, there's nothing like a live wrestling event. And I'm super excited for you for Halloween Havoc. I know this is probably not your first NXT event, but it's always super exciting anytime we do something live. I still talk about how I loved my experience at Stand and Deliver when it was in Los Angeles 2 years ago. And that is still probably my favorite show I've been to within the last couple of years that, I've been in the wrestling game for sure.
This is definitely special to me for a completely different reason. Growing up in Puerto Rico, I didn't really have access to a lot of wrestling, and my dad used to send me tapes. And being that Sting was my favorite wrestler, Halloween Havoc came from my company. I'm a WCW guy, and I get to go to a WCW pay-per-view. Yes, I know this is NXT, but Halloween Havoc will forever be my WCW pay-per-view. And for those people that don't know this, I'm not making this up. You can Google this. You can get on 83 Weeks podcast if you want. Halloween Havoc was WCW's WrestleMania. This is a big deal. Eric Bischoff said that, yes, Starrcade became it because that's just what fans wanted. But Halloween Havoc was always designed to be their WrestleMania. That was supposed to be their, like, big end of the battle, like, stuff. And this is just very special to me, and be able to share this with Arthur, like my son, like, this is definitely a special moment. I'm excited. And I didn't even tell you, like, I'm sitting in a press box. Like, I'm not sitting in a normal, because my wife won these tickets at her job. Because she works for the corporate office that the arena is named after. She works for Giant Foods, and she works in the corporate office, and they didn't sell out this event, this or Raw, so they auctioned off the tickets, and she put her name in, and she won. So she's like, do you want to go to these? And I was like, what? Like, yeah.
Best late birthday present ever.
Yeah, I'm excited. This is definitely one of the most exciting things. I've been lucky enough to go to Raw or SmackDown because she's won tickets before, but never a pay-per-view. Never. Right. So I'm excited for that. This is the first pay-per-view that, like, Hershey's gonna host in a long time. And Hershey crowds are crazy. It's gonna be crazy. Fans are gonna go nuts. They're going to be absolutely insane. This crowd is a marked crowd. They are gonna go nuts. So
I'm so excited. So, I mean, Macho's going to be there live. I will be watching it at home from the comfort of my own couch, but I'm still excited because Macho gets to go to both Halloween Havoc and the Raw on the following Monday. He will not be here to do the review, but I have pulled in one of my WWE boys who also has done lots of NXT reviews with me in the past. So it'll be myself and Mr. Mini from, the WWE review show taking on Halloween Havoc. And then, of course, next Tuesday, as the final announcement before we sign off, our guest will be back. So we will be having a trio for NXT. And I can make this official because I have gotten it approved by the council. That is me. And also I got the blessing from Macho too. Will officially become our third permanent host come the middle of November after he gets through his theater show. And I'm excited because now Will gets to be sandwiched in between the two of us. So it's going to be fantastic. We love the halfling wizard around here. We love Will so much.
Absolutely. Yeah, it was I definitely had a lot of fun last week with him. I'm excited to have him on the show. I think it's going to be great because we're just still we just started getting back into the swing of things. This is our third show. So since NXT has come back to the fold. So I feel like it's perfect. Let's bring him in here before we actually start rolling. Yeah, so it's absolutely perfect. Let's get this group together. Let's get it all meshed in. I'm excited.
I am too. Well, that's going to be it for myself and Macho here at NXTilosos. We will be back. Well, I will be back with Minnie on Monday for Halloween Havoc. And then all of us will be back for NXT next Wednesday. But until then, for myself, Macho, and the rest of the BC Wrestle Pod family here, remember, take care of yourself, love one another, stay iconic, and more importantly than anything, you always deserve to finish your story. We will catch you next week. But until then, sayonara, adios, and we'll see you later.